practice of perceiving future or hidden events through faculties beyond ordinary senses, chiefly via ESP and precognition. Knowledge of approaching conditions has practical value for survival, success, and decision-making. Inner plane consciousness can observe probabilities along world lines while physical action remains free. Evidence from science, experiments, anecdotal records all establish precognition is real. Consciousness operates on multiple levels: physical, boundary line, and inner plane. If you could make sure you're muted unless you want to ask a question, I'd appreciate it. And divinatory instruments serve to focus attention and translate inner awareness to objective consciousness. Prejudice arises from misuse or misunderstanding, but disciplined intellectual ESP provides reliable foresight. Any thoughts or any questions on, we're certainly going to cover questions at the end, but anything on your mind about that part? I said about spiritual power and force, it sort of does say that, this ability to sort of, use a doctrine of divination, whether it's ESP or precognition, you notice it's like it gives you knowledge of approaching conditions. Inner plane gives you probabilities. I think that's important, when you're dealing with sort of divination, to have the understanding that success is, isn't getting it right every time. It's just getting it right more than statistics would say you would. So it gives you sort of a slight edge. You have like a little sort of edge in your decision making, whether that's when you meet someone to get a sense of whether it's a good person to go into business with or to be a friend with or not, or whether it's to, like, when you're looking at a spreadsheet at work and you're like, something just sort of, some number just stands out as, hey, oh, that's the one that's going to be the next way it's going to go. So when you develop, this ability, it really does help in a practical sense, as it says here, for survival and success, decision making, and just making life a little easier. The methods of divinations are covered in chapter 2. Divination employs multiple approaches. It includes astrology, as we're all familiar with, casting charts to see sort of what the astrological weather is going to be, intuitive perception, and inner plane observations. Methods vary in safety, reliability, and training required. Intellectual ESP is emphasized over feeling ESP or mediumship for consistent results. Instruments like charts or symbols direct the attention and faculties of the soul to acquire the information, while the inner plane environment provides stimuli that influence interpretation. All divinatory methods function as structured ways that access unconscious insights, enabling accurate observation of world lines and probable future events. Proper training develops accuracy, prevents emotional distortion, and allows an individual to perceive probabilities rather than predetermined outcomes, respecting free will and initiative. So what's that saying? I think that's a very complicated way to saying that divination just means you come up with some system to where you calm down your rational mind, you sort of tap into your subconscious mind to allow yourself to sort of acquire information that you don't sort of know through A plus B equals C kind of thing, but you sort of sense or that information. And then once you have that information, it's important that it can be different symbols and things, so you have to learn to interpret it. That's when we talk about astrology and the tarot, and those types of systems are very formulaic systems that help sort of your intuition have an alphabet to use. So that's one of the reasons that we study a lot and learn sort of a different language that's reserved for these type of things through tarot and astrology, so that when those symbols come up, it'll be easy to interpret them because those tend to be universal across humanity. So the astral plane and conscious. Any questions about method of divination? I know this is very high level, but any questions at all, let me know.
Yes, I have a really quick question for the teacup and like coffee readings.
Yep, yep,
Um, to be able to stay consistent with the symbols that, and I know they, how can I say this? If they're universal,
yeah.
would course 7 be a good book to use for teacup and coffee divinations? So the spiritual astrology book.
Yeah,
Um,
when I think about when he talked about,
yes,
when he talked about teacup and coffee divination, and
yes,
I actually have been thinking about this like for the last 45
because
seconds as I
those
was
are
talking.
consistent. Yeah, tell me more.
But
Tell me.
but in that process, he was
Yes.
more talking about it, if I remember correctly, like, because it really stood out to me
Okay.
as being like a way to start a free association thought.
Okay.
Like you look at it and it's like it was also like looking at clouds.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
sort of let the clouds take your
Free
mind
flow.
to drift and be like, oh, that cow looks like an elephant. Now it
Yeah.
looks like this. Now it looks. So I think that's the way that he was talking about using those teacups. I mean, tea
And
leaves and the grinds on the edges and stuff that he talked about when they made tea different back then.
and as you were saying that, I just had the thought of, things being fluid, and because we're dealing with teacups and coffee cups, we're dealing with,
Oh yeah,
water. So
yeah,
I'm picking up on what you're saying. So
yeah,
thank you for that perspective. Thank you for
yeah.
that.
Yeah, but when you're using like a tarot or a chart, and your intuition is telling you something, the symbols on the chart can, they really stand out. But in those situations, different techniques are used. You can use different languages a little bit with that too.
All
Any
right.
other
Thank
questions?
you.
Brian,
No, thank you.
I have a
Uh,
comment. The moon
Yeah.
moon just went into Libra, and as
Okay.
it opposed Neptune, and Neptune is the astrological planet that rules Tarot number 11.
Yeah, it is.
And I also wanted to say my mother did divination, and one time she did divination for a situation in a school with my brother. And I've seen other people do divination where they take the grounds or whatever from tea or coffee and dump it into the saucer, and then how it kind of falls. She told,
Yeah.
I remember her saying, "I see the letter F. F is in Frank." And she had problems with a teacher of my brother. Her name was Mrs. Frick, and my brother had problems with her. So that was her divination on that situation. I just wanted to mention that.
Thanks for sharing that. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, I think this tea leaf reading's fallen out of favor, but it seemed to be a very ancient way of doing it. Very similar to like throwing sticks and stuff like that, where you just sort of it opens up your insight. Chapter 3, the astral plane and consciousness. The astral plane is a higher velocity realm where consciousness operates beyond ordinary time and space. Each individual's astral counterpart and world line can be perceived, allowing insight into probable futures. Emotion and thought determine vibratory levels, influencing where consciousness functions. Interplane experience is real but symbolic, affected by desires, habits, and intellect. Understanding the astral world requires disciplined observation as events are mutable and influenced by initiative. Consciousness can extend across distances via electromagnetic or interplane energy, making precognition possible. Observation must be intellectual rather than emotional to prevent distortion, cultivating a trained awareness that separates outer events from thought created phenomena. What do you think they're saying there? basically, I think this when we talk about the inner plane world, the astral realm, higher sort of energy vibrations, if you want to put it in a physics sense, probably once the you approach the energy is vibrating faster than the speed of light, what mathematics would quantify as infinity, which all this results on the fact that in math they haven't figured out that you can't divide by zero. So that's what that's the whole principle behind it, is that you can't divide by zero. So at that point is infinity and doesn't exist. So I don't know, but whatever that is at the higher velocity realms, things are more connected by correspondences in energy versus time. So you can somewhat sort of connect and sort of see, the way things are sort of playing out in the future. But, I think what a lot of us have to realize is that everyone in this universe is trying to influence their future in some way, shape, or form. So it's a massive sort of interwoven human connectivity of trying to influence the future. So your success at controlling everything is probably very limited, but you can you can get some insights, get some really see what's going to happen, get a few indications. But just again, you always want to balance this with reason and an intellect. You don't want to bet all your house on black on roulette in Vegas because you had some precognition about it. So just be wise. But and that's how you develop and get more and more certain that your observations are accurate, is through sort of time and practice, as we know. And that's where it talks about trying to be intellectual, because a lot of times when you're trying to if you're trying to do some work where you're working in the trying to slow your thoughts and sort of connect and see sort of what the possibilities of a certain thing in your life playing out, or just what's happening in the world in the future. The biggest problem is that you're going to have these internal desires of how you want this situation to occur, how you already sort of desire everything to happen. So that's where you have to sort of try to detach from that to see it how it truly is and not how you want it to be. And I think that's where we talk about that, trying to make it intellectual rather than emotional to prevent distortion. Anything there? All right, I'll just read through them quicker to get to some more open discussion here. Precognition, chapter 4, precognition and world line. Precognition involves observing probable future events along world lines, flexible paths shaped by intelligence and initiative. The past is fixed, but the future is mutable. Interplane observation enables comprehension of converging factors, environmental conditions, and probable outcomes. Knowledge of these trajectories allows informed choices without implying predestination. Thought on the inner plane constructs temporary realities, clarifying events before they manifest physically. Divination reveals trends, influences, and likely consequences, enabling planning and adaptation. Accuracy improves with intellectual discipline, understanding of astral velocities, and consistent attention to inner plane stimuli. Free will interacts with probabilities, and divination provides guidance rather than inevitability. So I think that a lot to be said there. Simple way to think about it: say that you have a job interview. Very simple thing. Let's just say that. Are you going up for a promotion at work and you do your tarot reading? It can be a great reading. It can be a bad reading. But whatever that reading is, you need to be able to sort of intellectually observe it, recognize what the problems are, what the strengths are in this future that the cards are telling you, and then plan your best, given that that's the way it is. It's like you can't really wish it was another way, but what it's telling you is like these are the things, and now you're equipped to do a little more work and know how you can approach this because you have more knowledge. It's just like Say you have to travel and you look at your chart and it's not great astrologically to travel that day, then, you take some precautions. Maybe you leave a little earlier for the airport. So a lot of that is when you see these things, just sort of, there's a very simple examples of how when you do a reading, you have to just take it for what it is and plan accordingly. Each chapter 5, faculties of the soul. Each human possesses soul senses corresponding to physical ones, capability of perceiving beyond material limitations. These faculties allow interplane observation, ESP evaluation, and stimuli for divination. Training is essential. Natural talent alone is not sufficient for reliable results. Intellectual ESP exercises the highest potential, separating reasoning from hypersensitivity or mediumistic influence. Feeling ESP is less reliable and may introduce distortion, while mediumship risks loss of personal initiative. Development of these faculties requires practice, attentiveness, and knowledge of astral dynamics. Disciplined training enables consistent perception of world lines, future trends and influences, strengthening judgment, and minimizing emotional interference in divinatory interpretation. It's very similar of the things that we sort of had mentioned before. It's just highlighting the fact that we all have this ability. Sort of like everyone has ability to shoot a basketball. If no one's seen a basketball before and there's a basketball goal up there, and we said, hey, pick that ball up and throw it through the hoop. Some people will be better than others right away, but with time, everyone gets better. That's just sort of what it is. We all have this ability in varying degrees, depending upon the energies of your chart, and how harmonious and positive and how harmonious and strong your Neptune is, which will be a sign as this is something that you should focus on developing. Instruments and techniques. Divinatory instruments serve as tools to focus attention, translating interplane impressions into conscious awareness. They're aids, not sources of power, guiding the soul's faculties towards specific information. Instruments allow individuals to perceive stimuli that might otherwise remain unconscious, helping to bridge the inner and outer planes. The quality of divination depends on the practitioner's discipline and understanding of interplane laws, including velocities, vibratory rates, and astral structure. Regular practice, observations, and critical evaluations ensure accurate interpretation of signals. Proper techniques provide emotional distortion. Proper techniques prevent emotional distortion, hypersensitivity, or misinterpretation, allowing intellectual ESP to operate efficiently alongside structured instruments such as charts, symbols, or tools of focus. This goes about with all of this sort of the 7 physical senses as well as the psychic senses. Zane recommends, and we've really seen throughout time, the best way to develop it is approach it in sort of a systematic way. So if you sort of are doing a divinatory reading of whatever manner you're doing, tea leaves, dousing for water with wands, doing a tarot reading about the energy of a meeting, doing a astrological chart, do that thing, and then take the work to figure out, were you accurate or not? And sort of do that extra step and sort of track that, because what you're trying to do is develop the inner sense of when, is not something you think or an emotion that you have, but it's truly sort of like a awareness of you have of something on the inner plane that's trying to come through. So you're trying to sort of recognize it feels differently than sort of a conscious thought. Something that's coming through on the inner plane. It's a heavier, sort of more solid thought. So you want to begin to recognize that. And when you can sort of say, hey, I did this, that happened, they will build that pattern for you. Divination, like we covered earlier, provides practical benefits in all areas of life, from survival and safety, decision-making and success. Observing trends in world lines provides insight into probable outcomes. we've sort of discussed this already, enabling preparation and intelligent action. Consciousness functions across physical boundary line and inner planes, perceiving stimuli and probabilities. Precognition is not absolute. Intelligence, initiative, free will can alter outcomes. Instruments and training enhance perception, translating information into actionable knowledge. Knowledge of astral structures, vibratory rates, and interplane laws helps improve your ability. Disciplined intellectual divination helps you get accurate and allows for sound judgment and ethical application, demonstrating practical value beyond curiosity. And then it just talks about there's, a lot of prejudice out there, even when you talk about this. Many, even people who are strong astrologers get, I don't know about this divination. I don't know. But so there is that sort of, that can be out there. And then also that really arises because uncontrolled methods distort perception, people claiming things when they really don't have the ability. And then intellectual ESP helps resolve those things because you don't ever get bound up into the energy you're perceiving. You're seeing it at a safe distance. Divination is often mistaken for fatalism, superstition, or magical manipulation, yet it aligns with scientific inquiry and practical observation. Yeah, this is sort of like, every Hollywood movie is like the person's seen their future, but they don't believe it. They know they can change their future. And yes, you can change your future. There's not, but that's sometimes why divination gets a bad name. Limitations exist, natural forces, collective events, and there's a lot of factors that you can't fully control. All right. I will pause there and just open it up to anyone's questions. Sorry, Doc. Again, his computer's shot, but we got more than enough people, and I'll be glad to entertain any thoughts or ideas that you guys have.
Well, Brian and I did come back on.
Sorry.
Hey, thank goodness, Doc.
Yeah, all the electric came back on, so the computer took its time getting warmed up again.
Okay, well, I went through all your summaries and I even gave color commentary on each one. So they're probably bored of us talking and they probably really need to, we should let them talk now. And I'll let you fill conversations.
Oh, you did an excellent job there. I liked it.
All right. What thoughts do you guys have out there? I'm
Quick
tired of listening to myself
question.
here.
You did a great job, Ryan. We love
Thank
it when
you.
you pop on.
Thank
I have
you.
a question. Is there any footage or any lectures that we can tap into of EB? Maybe doing like character readings or doing, giving the lessons. So I know at one time he was doing a lot of lectures and traveling and delivering, his message through lessons. Is there any of that on tape?
I have not been able to find anything of that nature other than his talks on astrology.
Okay.
To my knowledge, he did not go into the ESP parts of anything in his lectures.
Okay.
Although if he did, they weren't recorded.
Got it. Okay,
Now,
that's fair.
unless Peg has found something in the archives somewhere, I don't know of any.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind that for the astrologers here, when you're doing an astrology chart for someone and you're somewhat predicting their future, you're doing divination because their future is not set in stone. It's all probabilities. And to the best of your knowledge, using your interplane activities, you're giving them the best pathways for them to follow, but they can still change it. Just something to keep in mind for astrology.
Doc, thank you for saying that, because when I'm doing astrology and I say something or I write something, I always put there, it may. It doesn't mean it's not, set in stone. Something may be this way, but not.
Yeah, and that should be a standard for all astrologers. The may is always there. or it's likely to happen unless you do something about it. And in those cases, professional astrologers should offer an alternative, such as what might be an antidote to something if it looks like it's leading into a bad pathway. And if you know your antidotes, rallying forces, and conversions, you can offer those as possibilities to help them change a likely or may be outcome. Okay, I don't, oh, I see something from Miss Brian, you'll have to watch the screens. I don't have everybody.
Okay.
For some reason.
Yes, just raise your hand or unmute yourself to ask a question if you'd like.
Does anybody want to know a little bit more about divination?
Of course we do.
Yes.
Of course we do. Okay. All right. Brian, can you put up the study guide? Okay, you're going to see the study guide here. We're not going to go through every bit of it, but basically it's going to give some concise summaries on different parts of each chapter. And it gives some really good advice here. First chapter is basically the doctrine of divination, everything that pertains to divination and what you should really be doing if you're doing it for someone else. We'll move on down. We have teacup reading. Is anybody interested in teacup reading? Does anybody know what that is?
Absolutely. My grandmother did teacup readings. I think every time I come in here, I mention to you guys that my grandmother at some point was doing the lessons through mail back in the day. And somehow, some way, she imparted little things that I'm learning as I go through the course. I'm remembering so much. And I asked Brian, when your computer went out, I asked him about, the teacup and coffee divinations. And I got a journal, and I think this study guide is going to be really helpful for me to get some notes. I want to create a template so that way I can start documenting, because I know a very important part of doing your coffee readings and teacup readings are to be able to read the markers. And I was able to download this really quick, and I'm seeing like in practicum too, like I know you'll get to there, but the brim, the middle, the bottom, the handle, this is something that interests me and is very familiar to what my grandmother used to do. So I want to revisit this, and I want to get, re-educated about how to do a proper teacup or coffee reading and kind of bring this back. I think it'd be really cool to bring these type of readings back. But I know that I need to put in the proper observation and,
We'll take some practice to do that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to offer you a
Yes.
little hint on
Yes.
something that is very similar, but not exactly stated here.
Okay.
You can use a teacup very much like an astrology chart.
Okay.
If you point the handle of the teacup to the east, which is the ascendant,
Yes.
and look at where the tea leaf grinds fall, and imagine those the entire circumference of the cup divided into 12 circles, and that's your houses. And those tea leaves can wind up in a house more dominant than in another. And they can give you a clue as to what you might be looking for.
Okay.
For instance, if the ascendant is to your east and you've got a dominant of tea leaves in the 10th house,
Yes.
and you would have to estimate that, you can pretty much guess that what you're looking for is going to deal with a lot of the 10th house questions and 10th house answers.
Okay. So now when I start that type of, like if I use this key here, would I always start with my teacup handle in the east, or would that be where I want to know the question? Is that where I want the question derived? Would I
If
leave
you
the handle
okay,
there?
if you follow Zane,
Yes.
you do not have to have the teacup in the east.
Okay.
But if you're going to use it as an astrology chart, which
Yes.
for astrologers is sometimes easier to do,
Yeah.
then yeah, you would point it to the east.
Okay. Thank you. And you know what's really interesting? Um, when your computer went out, I asked Brian if Course 7, because I'm in Course 7 and I have the cards for Course 7 as well. And I see how the stars are placed. And I was wondering, because sometimes I see those when I do my teacup reading. So I see where the stars are, like the constellation, when I do the teacup readings. And that's why I'm finding it like really important to start jotting this down.
It is
Um,
important, yes.
okay. Oh my gosh,
Yes.
I'm gonna add this. Thank you.
Everything that comes to your mind when you are doing something of this nature
Okay.
has a symbolic reference from the
Hmm.
astral plane through the boundary line into the consciousness. And
Yes.
it's up to you to learn to interpret them. Now, when you mentioned course 7, I think you meant course 6, the Tarot.
No, I'm gonna pull the book out.
Okay, it's
In
course 7, spiritual
pin
astrology then.
spiritual
And you're
astrology. So
okay.
spirit this course 7 has constellation cards too.
Yes, it does. And the same constellations appear in the tarot cards as well.
Hmm. Um, that is correct. Okay. Thank you for
Now,
that.
when you see those constellations, ask yourself, what does it
Yes.
mean to you?
Hmm.
And put that down, write it down.
Okay.
Sometimes writing something down is a lot easier to grasp the meaning than to try and figure it out on a mental level or an emotional level. Writing
Okay.
it down leads you to the law of association, which means you're going to start associating things with the symbols and thoughts that come up as you start writing that down.
Okay. Yes. Thank you so much for that hint. Thank you.
Doc, I have a question. We're talking about tea and coffee. We're talking about loose grounds. Am I correct?
You are correct. They have to be loose grounds, which
Okay.
means you break your tea bag open
Okay, that's
and
what I
you
asked.
swirl it around and let your psychokinesis determine where those grounds are going to fall.
Okay, and you weren't on here before. I talked about my mother doing divination, and she did one where she dumped the cup upside down onto a saucer, and then she read it. She saw the letter F as in Frank, and she was having problems with the teacher of my brother, and her last name was Mrs. Frick. So my mom, she was a Scorpio, so she
Natural abilities.
absolutely, absolutely. And so I have a ball also of Mate, so I'll just dump that also if I'm going to do a separate one. So thank you. I was wondering about how we got, most people use tea bags today, not loose. So you just tear the tea bag open. Thank you, Doc.
Okay, any other questions on teacups?
I had a question,
Okay,
and it was more so with the teacup readings that it's in book 11, or isn't it? It's
yes,
an
it is.
actually step by step.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so it's there for people.
Yes,
Um,
and these summaries that you see here are a summary of those step-by-steps.
right. Okay. Yeah,
There,
that's it. I was
there is
just,
a lot more to this in the book, of course,
yeah,
but we can't just put the book up here every time.
of course. Yeah. Okay, that's good. Is it when it gets into the character reading, is that where the faces when they're concave or convex shapes of the face and different things? Is this the
Yes,
same book, right?
it's the same
Yeah.
book, and we do have sections on the character reading from the face and head.
Yeah, I would definitely like to know more. When I went through it, I had to go online and search for examples of convex shapes and whatnot. So some celebrities came up, and it was easier than just that there's that one illustration in the book, or at least on the PDF that I have, and it was I'm still trying to get my head around it. Trying to look at people's profiles and understand it. But uh, is there any more in-depth information, like an old slideshow or something that you know of?
I do not know of anything from the C of L on that particular subject. However, you will be able to find character reading on the internet. Now, character reading was actually supplied after what's his name? James, the first psychologist, put out his book on the theory of psychology. And he mentioned about body types. And I think Pearls and Maslow went into some discussion of body types too. And in those body types, they started looking at profiles of the head and face and what they might be able to interpret from that. Back in the old days, and I'm going back to my time, psychology was rife with a lot of body types and character personifications, and trying to read and judge a person just by their looks. That has since fallen out of favor. Most psychologists today have no idea that that even exists, but it was a big part of early psychological theories. And believe it or not, the police use it quite a bit, even today. It used to be taught in the academy. In fact, I was one of the teachers that taught it in the academy. Learning to judge a person and your situation from character reading, and getting a good read on a person when you've got them in custody and when interviewing them. This type of thing comes in very handy when you need to have information at your fingertips and quite fast. When you don't have time to do charts or look at their past history or anything, character reading serves a very good purpose. But unfortunately, there's nothing that I know of that actually gives this, other than possibly something on the internet. And if you look up character reading and profile reading, you might be able to find something.
Yes, I'm sure there's
okay.
many books. Yeah.
Now you'll have to read them with an air of intelligence, because some of those books might be way out.
Yeah.
And you have to ground them and make sure that there is some basis in today's society that you can relate to.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, as opposed to looking at the shape of someone's forehead, look how neat they are dressed. Look at, look at what they're wearing. Look how they hold themselves. A lot of that'll tell you a lot about a person too, probably more so than,
Yes.
whether their ears are higher than their eyes or not.
Yeah, one idea you can use is that it is used a lot for autism. Autistic people tend to have a convex forehead. Not all, but most of them do. And this is something that a lot of doctors use to judge if a person is going to be autistic, by looking at their face and their forehead to see how it is shaped. And if it is somewhat abnormally convex, they might entertain a possibility that the child might be autistic. If that's the case, they would take their pains to follow up on that.
I draw portraits and for art, so it's more interesting to me to be able to notice the difference of even skulls is helpful in drawing portraits. But from what I understand, in the 30s or shortly after, when the pharmaceutical companies came in with all their drug tests, the doctors or GPs stopped looking at the person themselves, and what they look like, and started just to look at the tests. And it became really more scientific in testing at all,
Right.
Yeah. Whereas a lot I do agree a lot can be told just by looking at the person. But
Y-
yeah,
How
Yeah.
are you at drawing abstracts of people?
abstract,
Mhm.
um,
Emphasizing parts of
like
their portraits.
like
Character, yeah.
caricatures. I'm
Caricatures.
not. I'm trying to learn to do it properly first, to get the likeness. But no, I haven't tried caricatures. I'd like to try for sure. I like
Okay,
teasing people.
give it a try. You're going to find that when you start doing caricatures, certain forms will stand out more than others. And those are the forms that your mind goes to. And you can interpret from that what you see and what you exaggerate in your portraits.
Doc, there was a book years ago that I have. It was on face reading, and it talked about what you're talking about. I don't remember if it said anything about autism, but I remember it mentioning the lion face, person's face is open and they're more honest. And today I was doing face reading on the internet with a list of doctors, trying to look at the doctors' faces
That's awesome.
to see who I thought could be somebody that I might want to check out. Of course, I looked at their education, but I looked at their face. And one of them looked sad. There was some pain there. And so I did. I was doing face reading today and just trying to find someone for me. So
That's a very good idea. I have to agree with it. In my old age, I've got to see specialty doctors now, and I look up their face. And one of the things I look for is that they have to smile. If they're not smiling or they have a fake smile, they're out.
See ya. And Katie's got her hand raised.
Kate, go ahead, Kate.
So I've noticed for myself that it's usually the first thing that pops into my head that's on point. Is that the case for everybody? Because it seems
It's,
that when I settle into the thought, and I don't know if I just have too much influence on the thought that it goes south, but it just starts to get away from what actually will happen, or but is that the case for everyone? Is it normally just the first thought that comes to your mind is the accurate, or
okay, basic ESP 101 says go with your first thought. However, that is not always true. First thoughts can be inaccurate depending on the person who's doing it. Some people, it's their second thoughts that come in better. However, with that being said, their second thoughts become their first thoughts and it's inaccurate. So they might have to go to a third. But the big thing is go with your first thought and look at it intellectually. Determine if there's some reality to it. If you can find something that has no basis in reality, throw it out and go with the next thought on it. But basically, yes, your first thoughts generally are your better ones.
Yeah. This is when it comes to the character reading, though. Not, I know we're on the tea leaves. When it comes to character reading, though, that's very close to intuition. And I
Very
don't know if
much.
it's even. I don't even know if. I mean, being able to, as a human, walking and picking up on the energy of another human, I don't even think that's psychic. I think that's one of our physical senses. You
It
know.
is very much. Intuition does play a part in all of these. All the ESP factors play a part in all of these. Now, some people have ESP situations that they're better in one part of it than another. That's okay.
Yeah.
Clairvoyance is somewhat seeing at a distance, which means you can see into a person or at a distance of what might be taking place at the same time, but somewhere else. Precognition is looking slightly into the future, or it can look way into the future, depending on how you are wired and how you basically train yourself to use that particular talent that you have. Psychometry is a good part of this. But as we found up in divination, the psychometry, which is basically feeling ESP, can sometimes be misleading. Because in psychometry, you're using your nervous system as a device to pick up on the boundary line and astral plane energy. And sometimes it is colored by your emotions.
Yeah.
Psychokinesis is part of it. Now, that's basically you're using your own inner energy to cause things to happen. And that can happen sometimes in divination, especially when you're throwing out the tarot cards or the dice or using wands or a divining rod. You're using basically psychokinesis through your small nervous system to give you results. So there's another ESP factor that basically falls into this category of divination. Let's go down to character reading. We were on that. Let's see if there's anything else that might trigger some. Okay, here's your divining rods, wands, and any other type of divining rod. This chapter here tells you basically how to use them. There is a book out there. I don't know if it's available on the website anymore or not. If it is, don't use it. It's out of date. Email Brian if you want that book. But it will basically tell you how to procure your own divining rods and wands and scepters, and how to make them and what they can do, how to use them. That's if you're interested in that. Divining rods are a great way, are a great medium that was used by many people back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And it was mostly used to find water. For many people who had that talent, it worked very well. They were using ESP through the muscular nervous system to make the rods or the divining rod determine where water would be underground. Now, I knew a person who did this with a pendulum. By using the pendulum, they could do the same thing. And this person got rich. He was hired by mining companies to find minerals for them. And he would use his pendulum over a map. And he trained that pendulum to give him information to where on that map they would find certain types of minerals. And he would get basically 1 to 2% of the actual total find. Well, he got rich. Bevy has used, my old teacher has used it. She got rich too, but her richness came through property. And she made a lot of other people rich by basically determining what stocks and investments they should go into. She made them rich. And of course, she got a good portion of that. Any questions on a divining rod?
I do think the stock market has gotten a lot more complicated with a lot more variables than when she was alive.
It's very possible.
Yeah.
I don't follow the stock market, but she did.
Yeah.
Doc,
Okay.
So, Doc, if you were just like, you know what, I'm going to mess around with a divining rod, what would you do? If for the first time person picking up a divining rod, what would you look for and what would you do?
I would actually make the divining rod myself.
Yeah.
Like a
So
talisman or finding a gem that is situated to your energies. Making the rod basically imbibes that rod with your energies, and it will respond to your energies and to your nervous system. I would
And
start
what
with
kind of
that.
stuff would you look? What kind of stuff would you look for?
The right kind of tree. A divining rod is basically a forked branch.
Right.
It is shorter on the forked side and a little bit longer on the single side, or it
Right.
can be the opposite. It can be long on the wide side and short on the single side. It depends on the determination of the maker. Both will work. Once you've got it made and it's basically carved, or I should say debarked, you have the option of consecrating it. And that is a slight ritual that, again, further imbibes your energy into that rod. Now, this is the same process for making a wand itself, except that a wand is just a single part of a branch. But the same process applies. And then, if you're going to use a divining rod, there are certain ways to hold it. And Zane does give you that information. Or if you get the booklet, that also will tell you the information how to hold it. And there are a couple of ways to do that. And you'll walk along the ground or over a large room or a map, and you'll wait until the heavy part of the wand or the divining rod pulls itself downward. Wherever there is a downward pull, that's something. There's something important there. It usually will correspond to what you are looking for or what the impetus was that you're using the divining rod for. Now, divining rods can be this Y-shaped rod. It can also be a wand. The wand is the same thing. You hold it in a certain way, and there is a pull on the end of it that will pull it down very slightly, but noticeable, that will tell you it's finding something that you're looking for. We used to use these years ago when trying to find things within a certain house or room. And that would be because someone called up Bevy and said, I've lost my phone. Well, we didn't have phone losses back then, but giving you the example. And yes, we would use that to basically go around and we'd find them. We have the pendulum, which was a very good way of doing it. We didn't have to go to their houses. We could just put a small sketch or drawing in front of us and divvy up the rooms, give them a name, and let the pendulum swing one way or another to give us a yes or no, or back and forth, to and fro to give us a yes or no. We would program that pendulum to do that. Another divining rod used in Vietnam. These are two L-shaped bent rods, usually of bronze. They can be of copper. Bronze is the best. It's a combination of tin and copper, and it's ruled by Venus and Jupiter. These things, when held in both hands, will cross together in front whenever they come over something that they are looking for. Back in Vietnam, it was used extensively to find underground tunnels where the Viet Cong were hiding or for finding armament supplies that they had underground. They worked, believe it or not, and they were used extensively. Although poo-poo today by all psychologists and scientists because they can't replicate it themselves, it still worked for them. It'll work for you too.
I'm gonna find gold in my backyard. Candace has her arm raised. I'm in the mountains. There's gold in these mountains.
Yes,
Candace,
there is.
Yeah, there is.
Go ahead, Candace. There you go.
Okay, so I told you guys a little bit how I've worked with a lot of hypnotists. So I actually have like a muscle program so that if it's a yes, like my pointer finger will twitch, but if it's a no, my pinky finger will twitch. And I find that that's like the fastest, most easiest way. And I think it works on the same principle as using these tools. You just have to have like a deeper trust of your the little impulses inside of your body. Is that
nervous system
true?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay.
When you do not have your tools with you and you want to have something with you at all times, you can train yourself to do just what Candace did, and it will work.
Okay, very cool. And then actually I have a story about the pendulum, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Okay, so my first healing mentor, he actually used pendulums to look at people's chakras, and it would be a round motion. And it was so interesting because you would see it skip in places, or it would be oblong or something, right? But he said that if somebody had a strong enough energy, you had to ask them to leave the room because they would just influence the pendulum swing themselves. And I actually did it with him where I tried to influence it, and I didn't have perfect chakras at the time, but I made the pendulum like look like I had perfect chakras. And so you can definitely influence how people perceive, like it was in his hand. Does that make sense? So I guess I don't really
Yes.
expert.
Actually, it was your electromagnetic aura that was influencing it.
Mhm.
Your aura can be strong at times or weak at times, depending on your constitution, and that will vary from day to day as well. But for the most part, people have a definite constitution that stays steady all the time. Your aura is strong. So yes, you could very well have affected it. And that might be why he wanted you to leave.
Doc,
Yeah.
something.
He was a pretty good teacher.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you still speaking, Candace? I don't know.
Nope, that was my finishing remark. The stage is yours.
And I have something similar, and it's along the line of using my body for muscle testing. And you have to know what a yes and what a no is. And what I start out with is asking myself, like, is my name Mary Smith? If my body starts to sway backwards, that's a no. If I say, is my name Audrey Gebhardt, and it starts to sway forward, that's a yes. I use this in taking my vitamins and testing things on myself. I just put it up to my solar plexus. You too, I can see that smile, Candace. I just put it up to my solar plexus. If my body starts to sway, yes, my body needs and wants that. And it's not, and then tomorrow it might sway backwards with that. It doesn't need it tomorrow. But for right now, it was needed. So my body is kind of a divining rod for me.
Excellent. If that works for you, use it. If anybody else here has ideas of using something similar, do that. It works on the same principle as the divining rods or any type of divinatory instrument. It's your inner plane knowledge coming forth to you on the conscious plane. So yeah, go ahead. Those are all great examples. Kate, go ahead.
I was, when you were talking about psychometry, so that is Taurus ruled, correct? And then there's also the sense of feeling, which is Libra. Both of those are Venus, ruled by Venus. But what's the difference between the sense of feeling and psychometry?
Okay, feeling in psychometry is basically part of your nervous system. You feel things through your nerves, and you interpret those feelings in your mind. Now, the emotions are also a part of your nervous system, and they can influence the nerves. So feeling ESP is not as good as intellectual ESP because the body itself has a type of filter that lets in the emotions to make their own determinations on something. And the best way for psychometry is similar to one I gave earlier. Write down what comes to your mind first off the bat and use the law of association and see what comes next after that. That allows your emotions to stay out of the way and your intellectual part to take over. Does that help?
Absolutely. But also, which sign rules intellectual ESP?
Well, basically, Neptune, Pluto, and Uranus are the main rulers of ESP. Uranus is basically intuition. Neptune is basically the other forms of ESP, which is your psychometry, clairvoyance, and precognition. Pluto is also a part of that. A lot of psychokinesis will come through Pluto. Pluto also will rule the astrology parts, using any kind of psychic ability through astrology. But basically, the moon will have its input because it is dealing with your emotions. Venus, if it's properly fixed in your chart, could have inputs on that. Pisces is a definite sign of ESP abilities. And whatever's in that sign could have influence. And of course, the moon rules Pisces, so there would be an influence there too. Depending basically on where your strengths are in your own chart, there will be additions or subtractions to those three ESP areas. If you've got a strong Uranus, but it's got a detraction from Mars, it may not be your best way to use ESP. A strong Neptune that's say a sextile with the moon, that might be your better way because your energies are coming through a lot better then. Does that help?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no further, let's go on to that character reading. I think Michael had some questions on those.
I did skip ahead, but so I know, Doc, your your study book of the wands and the divination is amazing. Like, I learned so much from that.
You have
Uh,
that?
I do. Yeah, yeah.
Did you get it off the internet?
No, I got it from
Okay.
you,
Oh, okay. All right. You have the
actually.
correct one.
I do?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. From the Wand Club.
Okay. Yeah, that was something we did last year. I collected a number of wands for people who wanted them, and that was collected on the full moon after the moon went into after the sun went into Capricorn, and that was the best time to collect those wands. And with those wands, anybody who wanted one, all they had to do was donate something to the C of L, and I would send them out.
That's right. And you sent me one um up here in Canada, and I consecrated it properly. I think there was 2 times a year. That was ideal. So
Yes. Mhm.
yes. So I'm happy to start using it, but I consider it kind of sacred. And every time I consider something sacred, I don't want to use it because I never think I'm in good enough state or something. I want everything perfect. But and I haven't been no, so I haven't been walking down the street or anything with it.
Well,
Um,
yeah, you don't want to walk down the street with it. It's for private use.
yes.
Um, I wouldn't basically let anybody else handle it or show it around because
Yes.
But you
any
can't
kind of
break it.
negative influence would deter from it as well. But
Yeah.
the wand in itself is really the symbol of your will. The wand itself does not do anything by itself. It is only the symbol of what you want to attain or what you want to accomplish. And using the wand as the symbol for the mind to determine this is basically a way of directing that energy toward your goal. And I think it does mention that in the book.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay. Do you have anything more on character reading?
No, I went back to the divination when I went to character reading when you were teaching divination, and now I went back to the divination when you're anyways, it doesn't matter. I just think it's funny in that maybe you should have a ground rod, a lightning rod in your house. I think this is the second time you're online and you got hit with some kind of electrical shot. So
Yeah, it's probably about the 10th or 12th time. It happens quite a bit when I'm on the computer. I have no reason for it other than the fact that I have a grand square to Sun, Uranus, and Saturn. And Uranus is square to both. So yeah, these things I suffer quite a bit. No big deal.
I think also Doc's not mentioning that he has a small nuclear reactor in his basement that he tinkers with.
Oh, I didn't know I said that.
I think Candace has her hand up again.
Okay,
Or time traveling device, probably.
Candace, go ahead.
Sorry, it's not the easiest format to use on my phone. But anyways, so have you tried anything with grounding mats, Doc?
Yes, my computer IT people had me do that, and they had me carry a wrist ground wire or chain hanging from my wrist. Let's see, I do have a lightning rod on my house, but when the lightning hit, it did not actually hit the house. Many times it hits the pole outside or one of the supply stations nearby. We're in an area that is prone to being hit by lightning, and the internet and electric goes out quite often here. So yes, I do have all that, but
have you tested?
Uranus overcomes them.
Right. Have you tested your house like to see if it's still properly ground?
Yes, we had the electrician come in and he rewired everything so it is grounded.
Okay.
And I have an extra ground wire or ground rod put in because I have ham radios here and they require the grounding as well.
Oh, come on, Neil. You know you're the one who's causing all that.
That's what everybody says, and nobody will believe me when I tell IT that, but
Doc, you know, the moon just went into Libra and it opposed Neptune, which is the ruler of the 11th, the sign of the 11th book, the planet. So
no,
that didn't hurt.
no, probably not. Neptune's conjunct my sun, so
I see. I have a second question, if that's okay.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you guys think about like Chinese face reading and the other systems of facial analysis than just the ones that are character profiling?
Any system that you want to learn and use is okay.
Okay.
But if you use a system that's different than this, stay with that system. Don't mix and match with them. As Zane says, learn one system entirely before learning another. So if you choose a Chinese system, stay with it.
Okay. Well, that's the worst news for me. So I'll try to untangle a few years of doing that. It'll be okay though.
Oh, okay. I'm pretty sure you'll be okay.
The ones that are on the screen right now, is that in book 11? I take it is.
Yes. Zane has some drawings on there that give some ideas of what these look like. There's not a lot of drawings, but he does describe them so that if you want to look on the internet and see or put that description on the internet and see what the internet comes up with, it might give you an idea. Now, I couldn't actually get pictures onto this form here. When I was in Grok, I broke Grok, so I can't use it anymore. But when I was in there, I tried to get pictures for this, and it just would not do it. But again, if you can do it, that's going to be a big help. Length of the head from the ears back. I see that right there. Length of the head from the ears forward. I have used that quite often. When I used to do interrogations, I would measure the length of the head from the ears forward and back. And that actually indicates how much intelligence a person has. And that tells me real fast how I have to deal with them. And I know from the fact that if the length of the middle of the ear to the front of the nose is longer than it is to the back, they're intelligent. And I have to take a different approach. If If it's much shorter from front to back, then I can almost fool with them. I can give them indications that I know a whole lot more than I do, which makes them think, oh, maybe I better confess on this. So it depends on.
Everybody's measuring their length of their ears. I see. Everyone's like, wait, what do I?
Well, we
Yeah.
can do that here. Everybody turn to the side.
You know, one thing about I think one thing about these head shape stuff is like the world, like there used to be like a lot of cultural significance to head shapes, but the world's becoming much more blended in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then additionally, I would say, not to get graphic, but with the rise of C-sections too, that changes a lot because the human skull has a totally different shape when it's C-section versus not. You know,
That's correct.
So
and cultural differences also play a part in this.
Yeah, and those are sort of, we're becoming like, more and more of a. Anyways, I want to share. Here's the fantastic pictures that he puts in there for us. It's a true artistic. Can you see that?
Oh, you got them.
Yeah.
I couldn't get them. Croc would not do that.
No, it's not. Yes, this is just there it is. There's the. I guess these are bony people
Okay.
look like this.
Yes.
Muscular.
Back in our day, when psychology was using body language for a lot of stuff, they had basically 4 body types that gave them ideas as to the personality of the person. And it was the mesomorph, endomorph, ectomorph, and I forget, the somatomorph. And those 4 gave psychologists a good idea of their basic personality, characteristics, learning skills. But they're not used anymore today.
Yeah.
It's been science cannot make good what do you call it?
Yeah, they can't make good
Finding on it.
correlation.
Yeah, it can't be replicated every time.
Right.
And part of it is intuition.
Here's the photo stuff here. Yeah, I think a lot of it, to me, a lot of it boils down to like, hey, if I'm gonna hire a mechanic and I have a sense that he's on top of it, but then I'll look and see how organized his toolbox is. I don't want it to be,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? There's like it's such a combination of just being very in the moment and very perceptive, right? Well, just being very detail oriented with your vision and then using your intuition to sort of tell you what all that means. In many cases, when you're just in the moment. So we're probably processing a lot of this stuff subconsciously.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Some people use the quality of a person's desk to determine how they are.
Or how fast they walk in for their interview.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're like me, your desk is going to be very messy.
Yeah, I can see before you got your curtain.
Oh yeah. Actually, I know where everything is. I put things in stacks, and I know where they are in the bookcase, but nobody else does. And if I have to go to it, I can go right to it.
Nice. You are Virgo. You do have that Virgo. Anything else in here, or what else is somebody? We got a lot of people on that haven't talked. Anything that's on anybody's mind? We're getting at 9:20 here.
Time, yeah.
Doc will start randomly calling people, even though we promised that we wouldn't. So you don't have to talk if he randomly calls on you.
Yeah, but if you want to say something, go ahead. We'd like to hear from you. Usually, everybody here has some type of question that they'd like to have answered, or would like someone else to chime in on. But don't get a computer shy. Come on out and tell us.
One thing that I'm going to do while is every day when I make my coffee, I use a French press. So I'm going to look at the grinds in the bottom when after I'm done, and I'm going to say, what is one opportunity I'll have today? And then I'm going to try to, get a sense of some details around what sort of good moment in my life. I thought about having a problem, but that's not cool to think about that. So I'm saying, what opportunity am I going to have in my life, like what today? and I'm gonna jot down like, oh, I think I'm gonna meet someone cool, or oh, I think I'm gonna come across a good deal on something I want to buy, whatever it is, and then I'm gonna track it. But it just, it won't be anything hard to do. Just do it when you're having your morning coffee, and then write it down every day and track it for 30 days to see,
An
you
excellent
know,
method. Yeah.
just doing something. Yeah. I think a lot of times when, you just gotta, because I've always been interested in that T method. I've never really used it, but when I read it, it was super interesting to me. It stood out. And then when Miss Lynn asked the question, it just reinforced it.
Guys, we have a question in the chat.
What is it?
When should someone use the minor arcana versus the major arcana?
Well, that's a good one. When you want more information about the major, use the minor because it modifies parts of the major. But who gave that? Whoever gave that, does that help? If you're throwing out a certain spread and you have the minors come up in that spread, those minors are important because they're modifying the main character, which is your major. And what symbol or symbolic intellectual information you give to those majors is just as important as it is to the minors.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what that question means. So when should you use them? In most tarot card spreads, you're going to use all the tarot cards.
Right.
But I will say in my own past, when I was learning the tarot cards, I did just use the majors probably for a year. Just as I was just messing around with them, I was just learning them. You know what I mean? So I just kept using the majors until I knew them, and then I started doing the others. But everybody's different. But then there is, but the majors, the minor arcana tend to represent, certain things that are different than the majors. They're like events versus energies, so to speak, or something like that. Yeah.
Right. And they will modify what the major
So,
puts
so,
out.
so you need that information in there to get a reading. But feel free to use the 21 or just do the major arcana. That's until you feel comfortable with it, because there's a lot.
Hey, does anybody else want to bring up something that's off this topic? We don't have to stay on this.
Somebody asked, which tarot cards do we use? Doc, you can answer that. I think.
Yeah,
Either.
those of us in the C of L, Church of Light, use the Brotherhood of Light deck, which is what you see on Brian's face right there. That is the Magician, which is the first card, the major arcana of our
Majors.
tarot deck. But you can use any deck you want. However, there's a caution. Like everything else, learn one system entirely before going to another system. So if you're going to use the tarot deck from the Brotherhood of Light, stay with it. All you're going to do is confuse yourself going to another system. Even though you might know what that other system is, it's still best to stay with one. Now, once you've learned one entirely, you can migrate to a new system. Christopher Gibson is a master tarot. There's a title for that. He knows several systems of tarot, and he's been certified in them. He's one of the few people around that can actually use any one of the systems to greater advantage, but he does not use the same type of interpretations between them. When in one system, he stays with that one system and the interpretations to it. If he goes to the next one, he stays that one or stays with that one. So it's up to you, but it would be advised, learn one system or the other, whatever tarot deck that appeals to you, go to that and stick with that if that's what you want to learn. Okay.
Can I ask? I was wondering, totally off topic, what the difference between a planet being in fall and a planet being in detriment. Yes.
Okay. A planet in detriment is basically where it is losing its energy in a certain sign. A planet in its fall is basically not losing as much energy, but there's enough that it's going to have an influence. Now, the detriment is not as good. If you've got a detriment, whatever good that planet might have is going to be a lot less. If it's in its fall, it's going to have an influence that's not the very best. It's going to aid whatever aspect it is involved in with that fall. And without having a chart in front of us to illustrate this, it gets a little difficult to explain it.
Doc, can I say something?
Yes, go ahead. We got our astrologer here.
Okay, a detriment is usually when a planet is in the sign opposite. Like for instance, if you have the sign that something actually rules, something like Venus in Aries would be in its detriment because Venus is ruled by Libra. And as far as the what was the other one there, Doc?
Fall. It was the fall.
Because there's another thing. Planets are in their exaltation right now. Jupiter is in Cancer, so Jupiter in Cancer is exalted. So if Jupiter had been in Capricorn, the opposite, it would be considered in its fall. And there's a little thing that gives the divination, not divination, but the
reading.
Yeah, well, the divine, what shows that what it's in when it's in its fall, and also when it's my brain is still fogged a little from the flu.
It's in its detriment.
Yeah, I can say, yeah, the detriment. I can send you something. It's a little bitty thing. I have one taped on my computer for times. I just glance at it. So if that might be of help to anybody.
Kate, if you go to book 10, if you have it, the entire chart is right there that shows all the planets in their fall, detriment, and exaltation.
So it would be preferable to have a planet in exaltation over home,
Yeah.
over it being in
Yes.
home. Yeah,
Yes.
okay. And are there degrees that they have to be in, or it's just
They have to be
Yes.
within a certain degree, and it is determined by the aspect that it's making. If it's a conjunction, you've got a 10 to 15 degree spread. If it's a square, it might be anywhere from 8 to 10 degrees. If it's an inconjunct, it might be 2 or 3 degrees at most. So basically, as I said, if it's outside of that 2 to 3 degrees, it has no influence. Okay, Brian, do you see anybody else with anything?
I'm looking in all the right spots. Don't see any hand raised. Don't see any chatting. So I think that will be it.
no?
I know there's a lot of people on that I wish we'd hear from, but I understand not wanting to chime in. But hopefully you guys find it valuable. If there's any feedback, certainly let me know at brian@lot.org and we can adjust and anything you need to do differently. But
Is there any way we can get somewhere all of those study guides that y'all are looking at for this?
Yes.
Where
Brian will send them to you.
yeah,
perfect.
just you have to email me if you want the study guides.
Yeah.
And I gotta get them posted below the YouTube videos too. So I need to work with Peg on that actually, Neil. So
Okay.
we got to get that straight all in one email all at one time. So it's not in, yeah, because I need some system to it. But yes, Katie, we if you need this, let me know. But we'll get it so that it'll be below the recordings when they come out on YouTube as well.
These study guides are for you to look over. They're brief, but they give you a basic outline of the entire book and some idea of what it involves and how to do some of that. So yeah, these are for you. Just email Brian and he'll send them to you.
I will say for those of you that use AI, you can just, if say you're trying to learn course 6, you can literally go into say course 6 and say, go into AI and say, I'm learning course 6 of CC Zane's Brotherhood of Light lessons. Please give me a structured plan to learn this material with quizzes at the end of every chapter. And it would spit out, so you can actually use ChatGPT to teach you the material. We're actually coming up with something possibly like that for the website just to help if you want to, too. Just saying, it's a tool that can help do that. Doesn't replace the
I'm too
wisdom and
close to
experience.
Memphis to do that.
Yeah, that doesn't replace the wisdom and experience of someone who've actually felt and lived something, right? Because it doesn't have any of those things. It's like a person that's only read books about love but never fallen in love. I don't know what they can tell you about. You know what I mean? So, but it can help you learn the intellectual side to something for sure. Help you memorize what you need to memorize and that type of stuff. It's a good calculator.
Excellent. Okay, Brian, I don't see anybody else admitting that they want to talk. So
Okay.
when should we do our
What's
next
the
one?
email? The email is Brian, BRIAN @light.org. Somebody asked in chat. All right. We're gonna have to get back to the group and I'll send out an invite. It's either gonna be the 5th to 22nd or the 29th.
Yes. We have meetings on the Thursdays next week, the week after, and probably the week after that. So one of
Yeah.
those dates will be chosen, but not next week. And for those
Yeah.
here who are hermeticians, if you want to chime in on the hermeticians discussion, that is coming up on the 15th. Brian, why don't you tell a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's we decided that once a month, maybe we'll do it a little less or more frequently, depending, is we have a call for hermeticians, just so it's everyone that's passed and gone through all the courses and has access to all the manuscripts. Where those of you that may not be aware, but past your hermetician, if you want to, there's different lucidic degrees that you can get that show definite control over different physical and spiritual psychic senses, where you have to demonstrate that, then you can get additional degrees. And there's but that's really stuff we talk about after you become a hermetician. So on that call, we're going through the manuscripts actually in detail about how to practically apply them and really, because I think what a lot of people getting through these first 21 courses is just like getting a degree to be a doctor. Now, the fun part is you get to go practice on patients and learn. So we're talking about all the practicing of what we've learned and applying it and seeing what works, what doesn't work, how do we get better, what's fantasy thinking, what's reality, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, with with like-minded folks that aren't scared to stretch the meaning of what's possible.
The manuscript we'll be talking about next time is manuscript 2.
So, all right, let's see, anything else? So we got that.
Okay, I guess we'll say goodbye to everyone.
Doc, you said manuscript, not book?
Oh, no, the
No.
next open discussion group will be on course 12.
That's what okay. So then the next one after this one. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
He was talking about for our hermetician discussion group, which is different from this discussion group, will be manuscript 2. All right. Thank you, everybody.
I love
Good
you
night.
guys.
Thank you.
Have a good week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.